Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, please pray for me by singing along with me, gesturing at your screen, and hitting one of the prayer buttons. Let's do it again. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. All right, so I donated my hair today, as you guys see. I I had some turbulent times in the last 6 months during the time that hair was growing, and it prompted me to get rid of it. You need 6 inches to donate. 10 would be preferable, but 6 is good enough. So I was able to donate the hair. I've been having a lot of turbulences. These last 6 months have been marked by my return to the dating scene, obviously, my Lego projects. And my Lego project has become a blessing and a curse, and just like all of my other hobbies, unfortunately. I have a tendency to burn through hobbies as opposed to enjoying them. I hate it. I hate it. I hate that all of my hobbies, I burn through them instead of enjoying them. Uh, Perhaps it's best to explain this with examples. So, 14 years ago, I started writing AI for various games, and I competed in my first computer Olympiad in 2013, and it quickly went downhill from there. I lost a lot of friends. I got into all sorts of fights with disagreements with people because all I wanted to do was write computer games. So I'm actually dating somebody who also has a hobby that kind of looks like just takes over her life, and I hate to mention it here because it's still an ongoing situation. But I guess it was God's way of letting me see it from the other side of the equation. I had broken up. It was spring of 2016. I was late getting to my girlfriend's place. She was living with her parents, and we broke up over that. I was busy writing a computer game. She accused me of cheating on her, and so that's the kind of drama that a lot of my hobbies give me. They start out enjoyable, but I burn through them so quickly that it's not really funny anymore. Um, you guys remember my other art project? I was working with Bismuth. I had discovered making bismuth art about 3 years ago. I was tutoring AP chemistry when I discovered bismuth, and again, it's one of those. I went to my first art show. I had a good time. I had a good time making bismuth art at the beginning of it. I had a good time learning about all the things I didn't know as I was doing it. Right, so I learned the first time I melted it. It turned out horribly. Right, got like two really small crystals, and then I learned about. I didn't know how to make crystals at first. I was making castings. I learned about how to preheat the molds to get the casting to fill in all the little crevices. I learned about anodizing. I learned how to recover the slag when you melt bismuth, right? A lot of it oxidizes, and you can recover that, right? And then I learned about making crystals. My first giant geode, which I still have, I made quite by mistake actually. I had heated a 6 inch pot full of bismuth, and I was slowly turning down the heater, and I was disappointed there weren't any crystals forming. And so, in my disappointment, I thought I got to start over. I took another pot, I poured the molten bismuth in there. I couldn't believe what was left behind, a large geode, about 15 pounds worth of bismuth. I still have it, and uh, I call it Putin, the Putin dirty bomb. At the time, we were at war with Russia, and I thought that we could execute Putin with a dirty bomb of polonium 210. I was thinking that you could launch that geode into space where you could activate it with background neutron radiation, and then we could drop it on the Kremlin. So I called it the Putin dirty bomb. I had a really good time at the beginning of my bismuth art career, but very quickly it went quickly downhill in terms of burnout, in terms of just loss of almost like an addiction. I still did it, but it felt more like I was feeding an addiction. And there was a time where I wasn't eating right because I was taking all of my money to invest in Bisma. That it just quickly went downhill. And I hope I can prevent my Lego project from going in that direction. It's a curse of mine. All of my hobbies eventually spin like that. They all do. They all do. And then my dating situation has been kind of tricky as well. But did I meet a lot of people during this time? Yeah, I did. But at the same time, a lot has uh, spun out of control in my life too. I haven't been eating right. It's been messing with my situation at work. I'm consumed by it, and I I got into conflict with two sets of roommates actually, in large part because of how drained I was in my romantic life. What had happened was I'll talk about the second set of roommates first. I was living with two alcoholics, and I often the problem is that I never saw either of them when they were sober. I mean, these two idiots, they had jobs, so they went to work sober and everything. But I so badly, even to this day, I wish I could sit down with them when they're both sober and talk to them and apologize for what I did and all that. But unfortunately, every time I had a chance to speak to them, they were intoxicated with something. I don't think that it was limited to alcohol, by the way. But anyway, the last straw was that it was a Tuesday afternoon. I was at the student union on campus when I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This girl was talking to me, and I I didn't have feelings for her or anything, but it was great to see that I was doing something right. Let's put it that way. But by the end of that interaction, I was completely drained, and I just wanted to have nothing else to do with anybody else. I don't know how I finished the workday that day. I still don't remember. But I went to a nearby grocery store to look for my favorite foods. And wouldn't you know it, something that had been sold out for weeks, they finally restocked. And I don't know if any of my viewers here have particular eating habits, but if you've ever had a favorite food that isn't very popular, and you know, sometimes I go to the grocery store, and let's say I see, I hate to even mention what it is. Let's say I see 10 packs of that stuff and I buy it all, right? And I go to another store and I get 7 packs. Now I got 17 packs. And I sometimes in my mind almost have to ration it. Like this is the only 17 packs I'm gonna have until these two stores decide to restock. And I'm rationing, and eventually I run out anyway. And finally they restocked it. So I was kind of messed up already. And so I'm gonna have to in the future for future reference. I learned three things from those two apartments that I lived at. Number one, I want to be careful, and I have already started practicing this. Uh, I learned the hard way. If you live with roommates, especially roommates who own the place, try not to move too much stuff in there. Right? Ideally, the place is already furnished. Keep your best clothing like in a storage unit or somewhere else. Or I'm an artist, right? So keep the art in the storage unit. Try not to move too much. If you can't move everything from that place with your car out, you have too much. That's just my opinion. And the reason for that, number one, your own safety, right? Depending on how much you trust your roommate. For these roommates, it was probably not going to be a problem. But you got valuables, you got good clothing, you got artwork, you got for your own safety, right? And number two, and this one's even more important, I find that if I don't have all of my worldly possessions in the apartment, it's just me and a handful of, what I might bring to the library. If it's just that, and I get into a disagreement with my roommate, that disagreement weighs a whole lot less. Right? When your furniture is in there, your clothing's in there, your worldly possessions are in there, your artwork and your entire life savings is in there, and you get into any minor disagreement with your roommate, all of a sudden it weighs very heavily that you can't just grab everything and leave, even if you don't intend to grab everything and leave. Just the idea that you can creates a psychological lifeline to that disagreement, right? And I find that, do I still get into disagreement with my new roommate? Yeah, I do. But I find that having the situation I do makes it so that I can speak with my head instead of my heart, right? It's very, very difficult. It's very, very difficult to explain. But if you put yourself in a situation where you've settled into the place and now leaving that place creates a significant barrier, you will lose every fight. Just my own experience, right? Ditto with the workplace, right? Don't get yourself too settled. Don't get yourself too settled with the workplace, right? So, for example, I used to love to decorate my office. I've learned to be a little bit mindful. Don't put my best stuff in there, and also try not to get too settled with the politics of your office dynamics, right? Don't make your best friend forever at the office, right? Be careful if you're dating. And dating is a little bit better, uh, but having a best friend forever at the office, you're setting yourself up for drama, because sooner or later, you're going to get into a disagreement at work. Right? It doesn't even have to be a serious disagreement. Your boss says something that rubs you wrong. It's going to happen. The less settled you are with that office, and the more mobile you are, the less that will weigh on you, right? Just my own thoughts, right? Ditto with any sort of relationship, right? Don't get too settled, too comfortable, too complacent. All right. All right, that was my first mistake. I got too complacent with the roommates. I befriended them a little bit too much. My second mistake was oversharing. Now, what do I mean by oversharing? Did I tell him my religion or politics? No. What I mean is he knew too much. He knew too much about my comings and goings of what I was doing at work, my dating life, my art projects, my family background. Now, why would that be a problem? Well, it goes back to the other issue, right? You feel too close to somebody that you forget that you have feet to walk away, right? Number one, that. And number two, I find that people consciously or subconsciously will leverage information against you. Let me give you an example. When I was looking for roommates a couple years ago, you see, one of my biggest consideration, or at least one big consideration, when I look for roommates, is that I have food allergies. Right, I got to be careful how these people handle their kitchen, and did they leave food? Because if I go to this kitchen sink to use it and they don't do their dishes, I can't do it for them. I'd love to, by the way. I got to go out to get gloves, and oftentimes gloves have a tendency to walk as well, right? So I asked when I go talk to my roommates that's the first thing that I think about. Now, I was shopping for roommates on Craigslist, or it might have been roommates.com, one of those sites, and the potential roommate had taken pictures of the place as usual, and she had accidentally, in one of the pictures, had a bottle of dish soap, and it was an organic form of dish soap. It gave me a nice warm fuzzy feeling that these people are health conscious, right? Now, did she mean to communicate that in the photo? Of course not, right? It happened to be in the corner of one of the. There are a ton of things in the photos, right? And so when you overshare about your comings and goings and what you're doing at work, who you're dating, and all that, it kind of acts like that, right? It becomes information that these people can digest it and use in ways that you didn't intend, right? So that was my second mistake, is I overshared. When people think about oversharing, especially at work or with roommates, most people think sex, religion, politics, or money, right? How much money they have, or finances, or uh, I actually think those things are much safer to overshare, because everybody has differences in that, right? Oversharing about your personal comings and goings is way more dangerous than oversharing who you're voting for, or what God you belong to. That's pretty safe, I would say, because everybody knows that everybody votes differently, right? That's not a secret, right? But sharing about what you how your workday went and what you're troubled about at work, or who you're dating, or what you're troubled about with your dating, or what you like to do for fun, or your eating habits. I think those are way more dangerous, because those things can be used against you a lot more easily than who you checked off at the polls, right? And just my own thoughts. But so I overshared, and I got too complacent with the place. If I had to name two big mistakes at my last apartment, those would be it. And I hope to stop making that mistake. And hopefully, all right. Hopefully, now that the hair is gone, I recently replaced my car, and I tossed out a ton of trash when I changed. I didn't realize how much trash I had in that old car. I moved so much and all that. Now I have space to move even more stuff out of my apartment, so that I could be a little bit less complacent at the apartment. Please continue praying for me by leaving a like on this video. This is the Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Like Show. Bum